Thank you everybody for coming. We're going to start. No, can't hear me. You can hear me? You can? All right. Yeah, go on channel 1 and channel 2 for English. All right, welcome to Sustainability Unleashed, paving the way to a net zero future across industries. I'm Stephen Carlini from Schneider. I'm the host of this prestigious panel that we have today. And sorry for the delayed starts. They had 2 sessions back to back, which was a little tough of a turnover. So we're gonna cover 3 main topics today. We're gonna talk about a macro view of the data center industry and sustainability. We're gonna talk also about how data centers themselves are being decarbonized, and then we're also going to talk about how data centers are being used to decarbonize other industries. So it's going to be a great topic, great panel, so I will let everybody introduce themselves and how they're involved in the data center world and why they're talking to you today. We'll talk to my left from Ramsey.
I'll take,
ladies
first.
Helen first? Okay.
Yeah, so hello everyone, I'm Hélène Massé-Lagouin. I'm in charge of data center and IT for France within Schneider Electric. And that's all, more or less.
That's all? All right.
Hello, my name is Alexander. I'm working for Novo Nordisk as an IT infrastructure specialist, and I'm in charge of deploying new data center and all infrastructure solution for the production site of Chartres.
Hi everybody, my name is Ramzi Sharif. I'm VP of Operation for Vertis Data Centers, EMEA.
All right, great. We'll just get the panel started. Obviously, data centers are in the spotlight all over the world. AI has driven a tremendous amount of interest in the data centers. Can we just open it up with, well, I guess we'll start with Helen again.
Oh my God, that was not the forecast.
What is your feeling about the data centers and sustainability? Are they being fairly treated in the market? How do you see them as an emitter of carbon and what the impression is versus reality?
Yeah, I think data center, it's the easy way to criticize, right?
Yeah.
We never criticize the demand, we always criticize the data center, we don't know exactly what it is about. Data center is just what we don't see in the digital. And if we think as the value proposition of Schneider around digital electrification as a clear offer for sustainability, well, digital does not exist without data center. So it's clear for me that data center are part of the story of sustainability. No, data center also have to improve, and they have improved, by the way, strongly the last years, and they are still improving, and we are trying to help them with some solution. But clearly, sustainability and data center are more than compatible from my point of view.
Okay. Alex?
Yeah, you're right. In the past decades, data center were really consume a lot of energy because due to the servers, to everything. Today we are trying to reach a more conscious way of working with power consumption in data center. We are trying to make data center more reliable, and also we're trying to do in this way. Yeah.
All right, Ramsey?
I will take a different stand here. I think we have covered a lot of grounds in terms of sustainability in data center in the past 20, 25 years. But let's look at facts. So we account about 1 to 1.5% of global electricity over the world. Looks tiny, but if you look at the global warming potential of certain refrigerant, when we start our generators, the emission that we are releasing, the greenhouse gases that we are releasing. If you look at the indirect emission, which is energy sources, the supply chain, and the construction of data center. If you took the whole spectrum, we are inching closer to the aviation sector. So I think there are grounds of criticism towards data center. We need to acknowledge this, and we need to do more than what we have been doing so far. That's my point of view.
Okay, that's a good point. So I'll stay with you. Do you feel the industry is capable of self-regulating itself, or do you feel what's happening, like for instance with Germany, where they have very restrictive data center regulations, are needed?
I think that in terms of potential, from end to end, the whole data center industry, of course we have the potential. Are we organized to do so? I don't think so. What happened is that we all know it, data center, the regulator is always lagging. If you take the Paris Climate Agreement 2015, the German regulation that you are referring to, September 23.
Yeah.
So 8 years after that, we start having sort of first regulation that are constraintful. I think that if we follow the idea of, well, I am ticking the box and I'm compliant, that's not going to do much for the sustainability of data centers.
Okay, Helen?
Yeah, so the government have two possibilities, incentive or regulation, right?
Yeah.
And then there is the end user demand, I
Yeah.
will say. So we need to work on those three and the offer, the technical offer. So
Yeah.
there are four possibilities to help the data center in that respect. So I don't have any positive or negative point of view on the regulation. I would say in some countries, most on incentive. In France, we have a certain number of incentive on that. In some other country, it's more about regulation, and it's for the good, right? It's for the planet. And then after, there's our responsibility to deliver products that are better in terms of sustainability and the end user sustainability also aspect. And we see also that sustainability is clearly driven by the demand aspect. Huh? Mm-hmm. And this is our responsibility to find the right story around that, which we are working on, by the way, all together. Huh?
Yep.
You said it very well. We need to be responsible versus we have to be compliant.
That's clear. That's clear. Agree.
Yeah.
Alex?
We have the same at Novo Nordisk. We have a policy called Circular for Zero, which means that every things we are doing for carbon emission and things have to be recycled or to limit our emission. So it's the same for data centers. We are trying to reduce our footprint on all devices that are fed by electricity, and also we have a topic like cooling, where we are really attentive on which gas we use in cooling system to avoid any hurt on the atmosphere.
Yeah. All right, good. Yeah, I have to say that I was on a panel in London a few months ago, and one of the questions they asked me was, how do you feel Europe is doing in relation to, other parts of the world? I said, they were way behind. I was making a joke, and nobody laughed. Nobody laughed. But Europe is obviously way ahead of a lot of the other countries, and not only bringing awareness to sustainability, but also, impending regulations. So, as far as reporting goes, I know there's a lot of new tools for reporting. There's a lot of emphasis on what needs to be reported, and the big thing is with reporting, it has to be real data that can be audited, which is different than just throwing numbers out there and just not having to justify them. So we're in a new era of sustainability reporting. So Ramsey, we'll talk to you. What's your company, Vertus? What are they doing as far as sustainability reporting?
Well, we have already started a couple of years ago to make our sustainability, ESG in particular, public. We are part of ST Telemedia group, so we publish annually our results in terms of ESG, and you can see it's public figures, how we are progressing year after year. We're also part of the EcoVadis platform, which is an interesting platform, so we can really make a significant sharing of information between different corporates. But to be honest with you, our objective is to do much more than that. What we are targeting is from the first spad in the ground to the decommissioning of, partial decommissioning or full decommissioning of data center. We want to track, measure, and report on our carbon footprint. That's the objectives that we have put in our roadmap.
Awesome. So Alex, with Novo Nordisk, obviously a company that's growing very fast, to say the least.
Yeah.
How are you dealing with reporting the IT portion of your sustainability?
So we trying to connect each equipment to report what they consume, and we also try to recycle everything we are decommissioning, like you are doing, Ramsey. And for the future, we try to reduce the amount of old devices stored in local data centers. So we are trying to optimize everything by reducing.
Okay. So Helen, anything Schneider's doing to help the customers?
I will say a famous sentence there, which is what is not measured does not exist, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm 100% agreeing that we need to measure, track, report, analyze, and optimize. Yep. This is clear for two reasons. First, it makes the system exist, the problem exist. That's the first thing. And second is, sometimes there is some buzz on some part saying, oh, this is consuming a lot, which is wrong. And other things that we don't see are consuming a lot, and nobody speaks about it. Mm-hmm. So I think we need to be very pragmatic in our approach, and for that, digital for me is the key. And tracking all equipment, but you mentioned just before the gas topic.
Yes.
Gas topic is a key topic, where we try to progress on which gas for the cooling, on SFC3, for example, for medium voltage, etc. Nobody speaks about that so much, a little bit on regulation more and more, because people don't have this knowledge most of the time. So when I say tracking, that means measure, and that means being able to take the right decision. So of course, no, you're waiting for me to make a little bit of publicity on Schneider, right? So I will do it. No, so yes, there's exists EcoStruxure IT. You can see it, by the way, on the stand there, which is a specific tracking, analyze, and advisor for the data center. And that is specialized. And I will give you a few examples. For example, the question of the temperature of the room. This has been a key topic in the recent 2 years in France. Maybe the one that our French knows about the problem of electricity grid 2 years ago. 1 degree of temperature, it's globally for a data center, 7% decrease in energy, right? 1 degree. Most of the IT rooms are at a temperature that is much lower than they could be for the infrastructure. But that's habits, that's way of, they just want to be very careful about the equipment, etc. But they could increase the temperature by 3 or 4 degrees without any challenges on their equipment. That means 7% per 1 degree. That means a big step. And this is the kind of thing that you can really optimize when you are tracking all the equipment. So for me, as I say, measure is key. And then after, there's the analysis part, which is a tool. And then after, taking the right decision, of course, to optimize the full energy efficiency and sustainability of the data center.
Yeah, and we have a tendency when we talk about sustainability to talk about carbon emissions. But there's also some important things. Water is a big example, and also scope 3, embodied carbon. So Ramsey, is there anything your company is doing to not only measure those, report those, and to improve those?
Well, it's part of the design of our data centers that we improve. Basis of design is always something that we go back and revisit in order to look at every portion of the design, how to make it much more sustainable. But as I said before, we can do that, and I think that we have equipment, we have solutions in the market that help us doing that. But this is not addressing the end-to-end scope. So we are speaking about scope 1 to 3, and that is what our target. Our target is, if we build a data center from day one, we want to know exactly what is our footprint. We want to measure it, we want to report on it, and we want to improve it project after project. That's the objectives that we should have as an industry.
What about things like power purchase agreements? Is your company involved with those?
Yeah, but so we, for sure, 100% of the energy that we purchase is renewable.
Okay, 100%.
So we are also part of the energy trading system.
Okay.
So we buy tradable allowances to offset our scope 1 activities. However, this is volume matching. And volume matching is not 24/7 hourly matching. So again, we need to raise the bar, and this is our objective as well, is to work to make sure that we shift from this, because the wind is not always blowing, and the sun is not always shining. So at some point, you don't have renewable.
Yeah.
You are consuming dirty electrons. So the strive to go to hourly matching is, for me, the objective.
Okay. Well, very interesting. So let's shift gears a little bit. Alex, I know we talked about Novo Nordisk expanding very fast. Are there certain IT technologies or physical infrastructure technologies that you're using?
OT also.
Yes.
A lot of OT for
Yeah.
automation purpose.
Yeah? What about deploying your IT systems? Are you doing that at the edge? Are you doing it at factory? Are you doing it at in?
We have a mix of between at the factory and at a in the global data centers currently, and we are trying to reduce local data center to migrate everything on global data centers. Yeah.
So are you using prefabricated data centers?
Yes, we will install a new smart shelter from a data center from Schneider in the coming months. Because the solution is easy, we have everything in one box. It's a one box ready to work. So yeah, we have chosen this because it's easy to install, to set up, and as a customer, we just need to install servers afterwards and to work with.
So is it your goal for each manufacturing facility to be different? Are they all the same?
No.
Is it going to be more?
We use a smart shelter everywhere around the world.
Okay.
Yeah. We use in Denmark, we use in France, in Brazil, and also in United States. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So as far as technology innovations in data centers to make them more sustainable, we'll start with you, Ramsey. Are there, a lot of people are talking about things like liquid cooling. Is that something you're looking at or doing already?
We are already operating liquid cooling, direct to chip to be accurate here, and we are achieving 75 kilowatt per rack.
75 kilowatts per
yeah.
rack, okay.
So this is operated since a couple of years in our data center in UK, addressing high performance computing workloads. And we're looking, to be honest, for more, because we expect that the hardware that is announced will be much higher in density. So looking at technologies that allow us to go higher in coping with this kind of workloads.
So Helen, we know Schneider yesterday had a couple of sessions on some of the work that we're doing with NVIDIA on reference designs for AI computing workloads. What are your thoughts on what Schneider's doing? And there's 3 different versions of those data centers, clusters, those AI clusters that we're doing.
Yeah, well, our job is to accompany the customer, right? Which is the way it goes. So, and to do it in the best sustainable way. Mm-hmm. That's the core or the value proposition. I think on one side there is this initiative which is absolutely necessary. On the other side, and I just come back on the sustainability aspect. There is this idea that we need to be completely sustainable by design from the beginning. We need to have this big path on sustainability for energy. That's the second point. And third thing, which we did not mention before, by the way, and sorry, I'm going back a little
Okay,
bit on your
all right,
previous
go ahead.
question, is about the circularity topic,
Yes.
which we did not address on sustainability. So let me come back 1 minute on that because
Okay.
I think it's very important.
Yeah, please.
When we're speaking about data center and the scope 1, 2, 3, there is this energy block, which we split in two things: energy efficiency, electricity, right? And electricity coming by low carbon. On energy efficiency, we have spoke about that already. It's about design, it's about product also, e-conversion, innovation in terms of product to be the most efficient possible at the data center level. It's about software, and we discuss about that. That's energy efficiency. Then there is after this electricity and how we consume better electricity. And this is about PPA, what you mentioned before, right? It's about low carbon electricity. And this is where Schneider, since 2014, have been advising, is one of the advisors, the biggest advisor in the world in terms of PPA and in terms of energy low carbon, and we have advised for 90 gigawatt overall in the world of PPA. So this is the block of energy. And then I'm coming to the block of resources and saying there are two things on that. How can we optimize the resources when we do a product in our innovation? And then how can we design product circular by design, which means that they will be ultimately in 10, in 15 years, able to be circular, to be reused. And then you have the old product in some data center, 15 years ago that were done in some data center, and 15 years ago those UPS, those low voltage, master packed, whatever it is, something needs to be done with this product, right? This product. The question about that is what do we do with that? So we started, and we announced yesterday, by the way, also with a data center, a leader in data center in France. We launched this circular offer, which is take back. In France, we have a factory that is taking those products and putting back on the market. We have a label called Circular Certified, and it's very difficult in data center because obviously it's critical infrastructure. How we can use those UPS and try to re-put them on the market with the same guarantee and the same availability level. I think that's part of our sustainability journey, and this is why I wanted to, come back to this story, which is then you take into account both the energy part and the resource part. And obviously, when you put back a circular certified product, it has less CO2 impact, of course, but it also has less resource impact. And this is where I will say for overall, there's a big roadmap, which is a long roadmap, but it's clearly the next way to go, I will say. So I did not answer in your previous question,
yeah,
sorry.
Let's stay on that, and we'll ask Alex and Ramsey, are the suppliers today giving you enough information on embodied carbon and circularity?
Yeah, most of them, yes.
Most of them are?
In IT, yes. In IT, since the past decade, I think we take a conscience of what we are doing, and a lot of suppliers are right now provide the effort to tell to each customer what is the impact when they produce a device or hardware.
Is that a big factor in your decision-making criteria, the embodied carbon
yes,
circularity?
It's one of the points, yes.
Yeah?
It's currently one of the most important points, yes.
And I think that should be the case on more and more customers.
Yes,
obviously, sometimes the price is important, of course. Yes, and I come back. There's a product by product, and then there's the overall design that is pretty important also.
Yes.
And then there's the operation part,
yes.
Which is you can have a product, and then if it's using, it's not optimal in terms of energy efficiency. It has some impact in terms of CO2 over the 10, 20 years of operation.
Right.
So the calculation is, I mean, that's a pretty big work
Yeah.
to find the best offer so
Yeah.
that we can have both the optimization from a CapEx point of view and a design point of view, end-to-end optimization, and by product optimization, and then to have the optimization in terms of operations.
So Ramsey on circularity and.
I think we are not there.
No? Okay.
But the more you go on the stack of the data center, the more you realize that you have feedback and you have reporting and you have precise, as mentioned by Helen and Alex. However, when you go down to the stack, it's difficult to get information, to get reporting. Take the construction, for example. We don't know where the steel is coming from, what is the carbon footprint of the steel that you are using, the concrete, the contractors that are using, the subcontractor. All these elements are still very slow to give you this information yet, for the moment.
Yeah, I think the same thing with the battery manufacturers is something that we're having trouble because sourcing the materials is different for every batch of batteries that's manufactured. So it's a real challenge in the industry. So as far as we'll go back to the AI cluster designs, and the move to liquid cooling. Are we seeing? You said 75 kilowatts per rack for those are high performance compute, obviously.
For now.
For now, yeah. Are you seeing just generally more and more, or do you think liquid cooling is going to be mainstream at some point, or?
I think we go up in density. The traditional air-cooled technology will have its limit.
Yeah.
Now we are playing with this limit, trying to push it forward and trying to be beyond the 20, 30 kilowatts per rack. I think it's doable, achievable. But in the long shot, I think that liquid cooling, direct to chip or immersion, question mark on where is the trigger, would be the technology of the future. We are going high in density. There's no doubt about it. All the information that we get, all the hardware manufacturer, whether it's NVIDIA, Intel, and all others, are indicating that the density would be high in the coming few years.
Yeah, what was interesting about the reference designs that there was a lot of interesting things, but the direct-to-chip version of the NVIDIA reference design that we announced yesterday, half of those racks, or the enclosures, were actually networking racks. So in a 1 megawatt cluster, there was 8 IT racks with GPU accelerators, and there are 8 networking racks, which are not liquid cooled. So even though we're saying it's liquid cooled, the actual cluster is a combination of air cooled and liquid cooled.
And you correlate this even with immersion cooling. You need this 15 to 20% for networking. That will be air cooled anyway.
Yeah. Right. Okay. All right. So let's kind of stay on the topic of AI. Ramsey, are you seeing AI? Are you using AI in any of your data center designs for operational efficiency of the data center?
I think we are scratching the surface of what AI could bring to us. My perception is that AI would be exactly where we are not good at. Mm-hmm. So we are in data center, we are not good at a repetitive task. So doing the same task over and over again. People get bored, start to be complacent and lax, and then problems arise. Machine can do trillion of times the same process, the same procedure, executed with the precision and accuracy. We are not good at managing very high complex situation in stressful conditions. We could be good, but we cannot be good and all the time, in every circumstances. Machine can do that. We also are not good in terms of 24/7 focus.
Yeah.
So we cannot ask people that work 6, 7, or 8 hours to be focused in their job 6, 7, 8 hours. without failing. That's not humanly. That's not possible. You have your up and downs. Machine will be focusing 24/7, whatever are the circumstances. So, at this regard, AI would have its biggest place in operations. If we look at the cooling, for example, what AI could do in cooling, you realize that the cooling in data center have multiple complex subsystems, parameters that are non-linear and are intermingled. There's interdependency between them. There are varying time dependencies as well. There are disturbances. And there are vast amount of data that are channeled through the data center.
Yep.
A human being operating cannot apprehend all the end-to-end holistic view of the data center cooling and take the decision to optimize. That's simply not possible. We need to reflect, we need time to adjust and make optimization settings. This is where AI would be perfect because it can process huge amount of data, build the model, and then adjust and do the adjustment, not towards one system or one subsystem, but through the holistic data center cooling system. And this is why I see the big future of AI in operations.
Operations?
Hopefully.
No, that was very well said. Helen, anything to add?
Yeah, well, I obviously I agree with you on this topic, and more generally, if we come back to digital, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're just at the beginning of the story, I will say. I used to say, I like to say digital, it's a teenager for the moment, right? What we are able to do to optimize across industry with digital, it's a 20 years old, right? And then we have a lot to learn with AI in the future to optimize, including for the energy efficiency part. And this is where we can make a big step there also. But the rest I'm agreeing with
the
you.
operational efficiency you were talking about, and what Ramsey was saying was the amount of data. It's just impossible if you have 1,000 crack units, for example, and all the data to adjust. All of the human can make like one change and look at the effect at a time, but it would take a human like much more time than years than what the machine could do very, very fast. So Alex, as far as Novo, and what are you seeing a use for AI in any of your IT operations?
Not really at this time.
Not yet?
To be honest, no.
Because back on the ground.
No, unfortunately, Ramsey is really inspired by this topic.
Yeah.
For us at infrastructure, of course, we have a sensor monitoring system, reporting system, but we don't use a lot of artificial intelligence in infrastructure, but we use it to make research on molecules and everything. So at this time, maybe fortunately for us, because it preserves our jobs, but I think the future will be made by artificial intelligence. It's not we cannot avoid this. So let's see how we can use the artificial intelligence to optimize and to make us more attentive of what happened in the infrastructure. But it's really at a large scale for this.
Yeah, and as far as AI being used, I mean, AI is really not new, being used in processing efficiency and predictive analytics and those kinds of things. Peter Herwick, the CEO yesterday, said that the decarbonization from operations can be reduced by 70%. A lot of that is electrification. But we've just published a white paper that we released at this conference that says we quantified the digitization piece, the data center piece, the AI piece, to be between 10 and 30%. We projected it out over 27 years to 2050. So that was kind of missing from the story, and then we broke it down further by industry. We broke it down by manufacturing, we're the top carbon emitting industries, so manufacturing, transportation, buildings, and electrical distribution. So I don't know any of your customers that you're aware of using AI to decarbonize, or data centers, or your No.
To be honest, no.
No?
No.
No?
No. I think there are a lot of initiatives, but again, while scratching the surface, cost is significant. So you need really to have business case, solid business case to launch this kind of initiatives. But I think the coming years, in the coming years, we will see much more of this translating into reality.
All right. Helen, do you
Yeah.
see any industries that would benefit the most from?
Well, first of all, I think AI is the word that we say every time, but it will go step by step,
Yep.
right? This, and maybe Europe, by the way, who is way ahead in terms of sustainability,
Yep.
is less ahead sometimes in terms of AI, I
Yep.
think, compared to other regions. But that's okay, but it's a step-by-step approach, so it will not be tomorrow morning. Which industry? I think all industry which have an operational efficiency topic and an energy efficiency topics, which is across, I will say, industries. But when you say we're using AI more for the research part,
Yes.
well, this is typically an example
Yes,
of
yes.
an industry. It's not for the IT part,
Yeah.
but it's still for an industry part. So, and ultimately, there's a data center somewhere that is using it. So I will say, there's no end in the usage of this thing. No, it will come step by step, I think, with an acceleration. In Europe, for the moment, we are still, finding some application in that, and that's great. And we all believe it will grow very fast. We as you say, we see some actors more and more interested in developing high computing, etc. But yes, I think it will come. It's coming. No, all over across, and the application are sometimes where we don't think they are, right?
Right.
And this is a very good example, by the way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in the future, we have also the possibility to use artificial intelligence, for instance, in the web development. When you host a website with a lot of visits per day, when we have a peak of visit, you can have a kind of intelligence in the power plug that can power on servers and to deploy some virtual machine to host more visits on the website. And once the peak of visit is passed, you can just simply make turn off the servers using artificial intelligence. So this is what we have, we can do. We do already with powered on servers, but we can also improve this by turning the server off after the use. For instance, it's just
I think we need to have
an
some
idea.
time for question. No?
Okay. Thank you, panel. That was great. We want to take a couple of minutes that we have left and open it up to any questions that
Hey, there's a
we
question
may have.
here.
We have to put on our headphones.
Hi, Vlad Galva from Omdia. Hi, Steve. I have a question for Alexander. So, you talked about pretty much every aspect of sustainability, bar, should we say, IT inefficiency, idle servers, because ultimately, right, they use electricity, and it seems like a lot of enterprises tend to over-provision both their on-premises computing, also whenever they ask for cloud instances, actually. The data suggests that they also tend to over-provision that.
You're right.
So how do we combat that? And is this something you're already doing at your company? I'm curious to hear your views.
At Novo Nordisk, it's complex because we are an industry, and basically we use data center to have a higher availability of all servers. So we need them online every day, every hour, every minute. But in some industry, yes, in the future, I think we will be able to make this happen by turning on and turning off servers at the demand for the needs we have for 1 hour, 2 hours, and leave them alone afterwards. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is the answer you expect? That's okay.
All right. Any other questions for our esteemed panel? No? Oh, we have another question.
I may as well be controversial. It's been a habit all my life. We've discussed everything about data centers, about sustainability, and all the steps and market data centers we're all taking to address sustainability issues. Not one person in this room today has spoken about the elephant in the room, and that is what is driving the demand. And that person, and the answer to that question is all of us. You look at how many people have got laptops open, doing whatever they're doing right now. How many of you know exactly what the environmental impact is of what you are doing with your IT today? And that's the question. We're all busy digitizing whatever we can do to measure what we do in our performance. But as individuals, none of us have the capacity because our suppliers are not telling us individually, this is the impact. And as a result, none of us are able to basically put all the circles together to be able to say, this is why data center demand is so big. And it's that circle that we need to square before we can actually address the issue, what's the impact of AI going to be? Because it's our demand that is driving data center, the explosion of data center and the explosion of data. But nobody's telling the general punter. I have grown-up children, I have grandchildren. They are all very conscious. They all drive electric vehicles, but not one of them can tell them, well, I know this is what my digital impact is, and my digital impact is this on the planet. And until that is actually addressed and raised really high up the bar, I think we're all just scratching the surface.
So maybe we want to...
No, go.
Okay, I hear myself in the micro. It's I agree, first, and thank you for the question. Currently, when we look at the demand, it's globally more than 80%. It's B2C, I will say, or end-user demand. It's video, I will say. And 20% it's professional demand, so B2B and what we were speaking before. So I agree with that. And that was also the spirit when I say we are in a teenager mode, which is no limit mode somewhere. And at one moment, we will need to stop and to think about it. No, on this 80%, it's difficult for me as Schneider to comment. I mean, we are all responsible and we need to take our responsibility, but I agree with you. And there's a lot of things to be done, including in terms of architecture on the video part, right? I will say between local and global. And this is where I think we should improve in terms of regulation, from my perspective. There's the end user demand, and this is really how each of us, we take a vehicle, electric vehicle, but we forget that when we look at video, it has an impact. Agree. It's indirect responsibility, right, to be fair, to be right. And the question is now how this demand which exists, or either we stop this demand, and that I will say it's more a political aspect, or we try to manage it and to optimize it so that we ensure that the energy there is not including CO2, that we are optimizing the system, and that we also are developing some application in digital that are here to optimize the situation in terms of resource and in terms of energy, rather than to increase, I will say, the impact. But I agree with you. I'm just saying, don't forget also that there is 20% of this digital, which is improving efficiency. But I agree, there's 80% where there's a lot to be done, including, by the way, the terminals, changing every 18 months, and the impact it has in terms of resources. So we are working on that with the government. We are working with the operators, because it's mainly the operators, and also the GAFAM of this world, I will say, to be large. And this is a worldwide topic, I think, that needs to be addressed. I agree with you. I don't know if you want to add something on that.
Yeah, it's obvious that the world is transforming. The digital economy is blossoming. What is, quantitatively the effect on, at a very granular level? We don't know. What we do know is that we are going to start using co-pilots and things like that to help to help out and make a lot of the things we do even more automated, but at that point, does it make it more efficient? Do some of the copilots we use for maybe, or AI that we use for, traffic management, for electrical power management, things like that, I think are critical, to driving, more efficiency. I think, and what we're focused on is managing the electrical sources in a way that we maximize the utilization of the lower carbon sources. So that's something that's, I think, going to have a tremendous amount of impact. But you're talking about the operation and everything we do as a society that, definitely need to measure.
Yeah, but and just to add a small thing, I think it's exactly the same thing than when we spoke about energy efficiency 20 years ago, that nobody cares about, right, for years. And then it has to be the grid that was in a very difficult situation. Mm-hmm. And as a consequence, because we were limited in the production, we had to look at the consumption part. The consumption part is, especially in the B2C, in the B2B it's more easy, but in the B2C it's very complex because it's a complete diffuse market. So everyone speaks about the production part and nobody speaks about the consumption part. We have been on the consumption part for years, in the building, in the home, etc. And I think this is part of our responsibility which we are taking, but it's obviously longer, it takes longer because it's so diffuse in terms of consumption that the B2B part, it's very the important part we are focusing on for the moment. I don't know if I'm very clear in what I address, but, and we are.
Yeah, we're out of time.
It's about transparency.
Mm-hmm.
And transparency is really good as the end user.
Right.
Absolute transparency is about I know exactly how many kilowatt hours
I use at home. It's about transparency. I know exactly how many kilowatt hours I use at home any time or day or wherever it happens to be. What I don't know, and what the general public don't know, is what is the impact of when I'm using my phone.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. And that level of transparency isn't driven by any of us in this room. It's driven by
But
other
it's
people.
exactly the same thing that people don't know the impact if they don't close their heating stuff.
But more people are understanding that and are querying it, and that's becoming an education process. We haven't done exactly that education process on the data side, which is the next big step, which that will have a big impact on how AI is used.
Yep. Agreed. All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, esteemed panel. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, everybody.